Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot is a landmark in theater of the absurd, famously described as a play in which nothing happens twice. That effect is extended and reconfigured in a new work written by Dave Hansen, Waiting for Godot, directed by Paula Plum. It's being staged July 14th through 29th by Hub Theater Company of Boston. We'd like to welcome Hub Theater's managing director, Lauren Elias. And also with us is one of the performers in the production, Rob Orzalli. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
First, I want to talk to Lauren about this. I mean, how is this different from the Beckett play? I'm just thinking of these two guys hanging around. There's this dead tree, and nothing happens.
Well, what's interesting, I'd like to say that I think something does happen in our version that Dave Hansen has so brilliantly written. I think it's absolutely funny. It's fabulous. And what's great is if you know Beckett, you'll love it. But if you don't know Beckett, you'll still love this show. It's absolutely delightful. And it really is just this little love letter to theater that we're very excited to bring to Boston for its first time.
And I think even in the original Beckett, I mean, it's not about this sort of, literary background. I mean, Beckett was he was into the entertainment thing, yeah.
Actually, it was funny. We watched several film versions to prep us up of the original Waiting for Godot, and one of the things that Paula really harped on was that there was a strong sense of vaudevillian humor, even in these what's considered these lofty, hallmarks of English literature, but that there was such vaudevillian humor, and I think we've really made sure to bring that alive and highlight that with Dave Hansen's writing in our version as well.
Rob, in the original, the people who do all the waiting, are Gogo and Dee Dee, and now we have Val and Esther. You're Esther, so what are you doing?
Well, Val and Esther are understudies for a production of Waiting for Godot. So Esther is going to be playing Estragon, at least he would, who is Gogo, I believe, in the original play. So he's kind of a classic actor who's trying to make it. He may not be very good, but he's very dedicated to what he does, and he thinks he knows a lot about how to do it.
Well, what about your own background? Because I mean, everybody at some point is an understudy. You're out there, you're waiting in the wings, and I can imagine you learn these lines. Nothing happens. No one ever sees you. I mean, talk about the tension between that and the people who are out there in the limelight.
Well, definitely. I mean, one of the big parts as an understudy is you always have to keep the hope that you might go on, even if you know that it'll never happen. Because if you don't hope for it, then you won't learn the line. So in the event you do go on,
it's a disaster.
It would be a disaster. You don't know what you're going to say. And that kind of is implied in this, where there are a couple moments where they're like, oh, let's rehearse our lines. Oh, I don't know what I say. But it's constantly fighting to maintain that hope, I think, is a big part of this play. And whether they succeed or not goes back and forth.
The other thing, Rob, I mean, I think of these two characters, at least in the original Beckett play, Gogo and Dee Dee, they're like Laurel and Hardy. I mean, do you have some kind of a chemistry, with Val?
Sorry, talk over you. But the fellow actor Gabe, we've known each other for years, been in a couple shows together. So building that rapport was the easiest part of the rehearsal process, because we already had, to an extent, the joking humor of going back and forth and kind of knowing each other's patterns. But definitely we watched Lauren and Hardy videos. I watched them, Abbott and Costello, various types of different comedy duos, just to see how they interrelate and the types of shtick that they do, because there's quite a bit of shtick to be had in this show.
Lauren, speaking of shtick, you get involved in that as well, I think, right?
Yes, I actually I have a little cameo as the ever-exhausted assistant stage manager, Laura, and I have the job of wrangling these two, which is quite the task, a little bit like herding cats. So I get to have a little fun in there as well, which is it's always so fun to toss a third person in there when you have these two really dynamic guys who have this great chemistry going on, and then see what happens when you add another element.
All right, this has been BNN News, and we're talking with Lauren Elias and Rob Orzalli from the Hub Theater Company of Boston. Lauren, of course, there's also a mix here because you've got these two people who are sidekicks. They're almost like equals. And I know in the Beckett you had Pozzo and Lucky, so one was the master and the other was the servant. So, I mean, you're a different kind of flavor in this play. Talk about what that's supposed to mean.
I am a very different kind of flavor, also particularly because I am a female flavor. It's a very interesting dynamic that shifts when Laura walks into the back because they think that she is Godot, like they think Lucky and Ponzo. So I am sort of a combination of the two, a very interesting combination of I'm the boss and I'm trying to get them to do, but I'm also trying to get them to desperately do what I need them to do so that I can do my job.
Okay, Rob, the other thing is that I know that people have all these terms for the Beckett play. They call this play a satire. So how does that? What difference does that make exactly?
Well, in terms of our play, there are many. Dave Hansen wrote a lot of one-for-one nods to the original play. So if you know the text, you'll hear like the first few lines are repeated throughout. There are lots of oblique and very direct references to the original and kind of the idea of what people think of as a Beckett play and what is in the original Waiting for Godot. Like, we have time to grow old, or nothing to be done, which is the opening line of the whole play. But every time I go back and look at any part of the script, I see the parallels, and whether it's the direct quoting or just, oh, this is so similar to that other moment. He's trying to take off his boot, I'm trying to put on a vest.
My favorite line from the old play was, I would laugh, but it is forbidden. Can you make fun of Beckett?
I think we can, and I think we do a great job. I don't think it's good-humored roasting. It's very similar. A couple years back, we did the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged, which is just, we appreciate the touchstone of literature that these plays are and how much they've contributed, but we also, you got to be able to laugh at it. It's summer in Boston, and Lord knows in our climate right now, everyone needs a couple minutes to come and escape and laugh. So it's a delightful roast with the utmost respect.
We should mention a little bit about the performances, where you go, and why it's a bit easier to lighten up with Hub Theater.
Well, our summer shows are at Club Cafe, so you can bring your drinks into the performance. You can come early and enjoy a good meal, which is always fun. But the reason that it's really easy to spend a summer with us at Hub is because we're all pay what you can. So we don't set our ticket prices. Our audience does, because we know there's lots of reasons people might not come to the theater anymore. Socks are in town, but we never want money to be a barrier of entry. So all of our tickets, every seat, every show, every time, it's all pay what you can.
Right, well, thank you both very much, Lauren Elias and Rob Orzalli from Hub Theater Company, Boston.